measurement. And here is the deal. One of the umpteenth billionth times I will tell you. Unfortunately, we in the United States of the good old America are stubborn sort of folk. The problem with being stubborn is sometimes we choose the hard way to do things, and that's what we do. If you're measuring in our American standard way of inches, life is just bad because these inches deal with fractions, and fractions generally are not people's friends. So what I need you to do on your piece of paper that you're looking at here, you are going to do, like we said, you're going to make an exploded inch, which means this. You are going to draw from one end of your paper to the other, a big thing like this, and a line that goes across like that. Okay, go across your whole paper horizontally, draw a nice little line like that, because we have to talk about this. I'm pretty sure back in the day, when whoever created our system, which came, I believe, from England or whatever it came from, they decided to make a ruler that had measuring things in it, and I don't know why they picked an inch to be an inch, but this whole thing here is just going to be 1 inch. In reality, that inch is about the distance, when you get older, maybe between the two knuckles of your pinky there, that's about an inch. It's about that. It's about that big, but we're going to blow it up so we can look at it really close. Okay, so here is, here is the 0, no inches, all the way to, this is just 1 whole inch right here. 1 inch. Got that?
Yeah.
Well, when somebody said, they needed to measure something smaller than an inch, they said, we are going to cut it in half. So that's where this measurement comes here, which you're going to do, cut your line in half. And right underneath it, that is 1/2 of an inch. And a 1/2 inch is about half of that little piece right there. There's about your 1/2 of an inch. And then when they needed something smaller than that, okay, they cut a 1/2 inch in half again. They took the 1/2 inch and said, well, I'm going to make this a mark, and I'm going to make this a mark. And when you cut a 1/2 in half, how many pieces did I now split this into?
4
quarters. So this is 1/4 right here. Well, I should probably do it that way. Yep, this is 1/4. This, believe it or not, though, the problem with this is this 1/2 is also a 1/4 inch mark. It is 2/4 of an inch. And this one is 3/4 of an inch. And the inch mark is 4/4 of an inch. And the 0 is 0/4 of an inch. And then sometimes a 1/4 of an inch is not small enough, so I have to take and then split my 1/4 of an inch in half. And each one of those is 1/8 of an inch, right? But 1/4 is also 2/8 of an inch. The next mark here is 3/8 of an inch. The 1/2 inch mark is a 4/8 of an inch. This one here is a 5/8 of an inch. The 3/4 mark is 6/8. Here is my 7/8 of an inch. And this one here is 8/8 of an inch. Let me see if they split it into something farther than 8. We may not have to go any farther than 8. But we might just as well. No, I think 8s. Yeah, 8s are as far. We are going to ignore the 16th inch marks. But the problem comes in this, ladies and gentlemen. In math, you always have to use what we say the reduced fraction. So you're never allowed to say 2/8. You always have to call this 1/4. You're never allowed to say 4/8. You always have to say that's 1/2. You're never allowed to say 6/8. You have to call that 3/4. So you always have to use the smallest, easiest to use fraction here. Okay? So if I am measuring a line, so here's my ruler that you guys have. Ellie, are you with me? If I'm measuring a line right here, and my line goes from here all the way to here, Okay, and I'm measuring that line. First of all, I know it's 1 whole inch, because this is 1 inch right here. But what fraction of the next inch is it? So you have to be able to figure out with all these lines what's going on. Now we're ignoring these 16th inch lines. Actually, we should probably put them in there. Let's put them in there while we got it. Let's put them in there. Because here you'll see how just crazy this gets. So here, this is 1/16. This 1/8 is the same as 2/16. And then we have I told you to make it big, 3/16. Here is 4/16. This one is 5/16. 3/8 is the same as 6/16. Here is 7/16. Half of an inch is 8/16. And then we have 9/16. 5/8 is how many 16ths? 10/16. Here is 11/16. 12/16. 13/16. 14/16. 15/16. And 16/16. Now you have all the marks on your ruler.
Yeah.
Well, if you messed up, don't worry, your life's not over. So going back to here's the deal. Going back to the line that I'm measuring here. All right, here's my 1 inch mark. You can't see the top of it, but it's there. Look, there's my 1. See it?
Yes.
So, how much past the 1 is it? Well, it's 1/16, 2/16, 3/16, 4/16. But you're not allowed to say 4/16 because there's an easier way to say that. You have to look here. Here's 4/16. 4/16, the easiest way to say 4/16 is 1/4. So that line is 1 1/4 inches. Give you a little story. When I was helping my dad, I used to help him. He used to work on cars. And back when I was a kid, the bolts and all the nuts and all the things that hold your car together were in this American fraction kind of thing there. And he'd ask me to go get him a wrench, and he'd say, okay, go get me the 5/8 wrench. Okay? Well, I'd come back with the 5/8 wrench. He'd try it, and he'd go, oh, it's too small. I need the next size bigger from 5/8. Well, everybody would say, well, the next size bigger than 5/8 is 6/8. Well, it is not, because if you look at 5/8, which is right, where's my 5/8? The next size bigger than 5/8 is actually 11/16. So how am I supposed to figure that out? All right. Whereas in the metric system, if you go now and you get him a 12mm wrench and he says, give me the next size bigger, guess what it is? 13mm. That's pretty simple, isn't it? But here you got to deal with all these fractions and everything, and it gets all crazy or whatever here. Let's look at another line. Well, back when I was a kid, they were talking about getting rid of our thing and going to the metric system all the way. Well, because of the stubbornness of us, that's it. Remember, when you get to be a decision-making adult, see, which, by the way, see how small that all is?
Oh.
So here, let me give you a line. Let me give you a line. Let's say my line goes from, oh here, let me copy this. Let me drop this down here. Let's say my line goes from here to there. Now you can just look up here on this. Now let's get a bigger look at our line down here. So we know if I'm measuring this line that it is 4 whole inches, right? You're with me on that. 4 whole inches. And then we have to figure out what fraction of the next inch it is. Let's take a quick look at that. Okay, so eventually you get really good at this. Okay, and you'll see they make these lines different lengths because they're just easier to remember. But let's, for right now, count it out in 16ths. Here's my whole inch mark. That's where my 4 was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10/16. But I can't say 10/16 because on your little paper, 10/16, the easiest way to say 10/16 is, Ava? Yeah, it is 5/8. 4 and 5/8. You don't have a 10/16. Alright? No, I mean we do. We don't have a 10/16. If the line went even farther and it went out to here, I guess it stops there. One more. How long is that line? 4 and what do you think that mark is over there? Who's got a guess of that there? You know, you could recognize right away that this is 1/2, so that's 8/16. So you don't have to always start at the beginning. You know, 8/16, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14/16. But I can't say 14/16 because of it is 7/8. And that's the deal there. Now, take a look at your books on page 278. And take out your ruler and let's get a little test and see. Look at letter P, which is almost to the bottom of the page. To the bottom of the page. Now you have to remember, you're measuring with the bottom of your ruler. If the top is the metric system, you're measuring the bottom. And please make sure that when you start, you know, the end of your line must match up with the end of the ruler. This and this, you have to make sure that matches up right there so that when you measure it. Everybody in agreement, how many whole inches is it? 3 whole inches. Remember, you're measuring with the bottom of your ruler, not the top part. The bottom is the inch side, the top is the metric side. So you gotta measure it like this. It's 3 whole inches, and then how many 16ths, which is what fraction?
5/16.
Well, 5/16 you could have, but my book actually says it's 3 and or 4 and. I'd accept 5/16, but I actually have this line right here. Did you measure this line right there? Letter P. Letter P. And you're measuring with the bottom of your ruler. When I measure it, letter P. More than 2/16. More than 3/16. My book says 4/16, which is 1/4. 3 and 1/4 would be the answer for that one. Oh boy.
You said 4. I said 3.
How about line Q? Measure that one. Line Q. And again, if you did not get that, let me know. Some of you are not using the right part of your ruler to measure. Measuring with the bottom. Inch size. You're measuring with the metric side, not the inch side, and that will mess you up. Look for the word that says inch. It's 2 whole inches plus, Katarina, 1/2. How about line R? R is going to be interesting. Which, by the way, is a pirate's favorite letter. R.
It's 1
Right. You can't say 10/16. You have to say
1 5/8.
1 5/8. 1 5/8. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to show you how much easier the metric system is, okay, look at line A. Now you're going to use the top of your ruler. I don't have to even go over this hardly with you. Oops. The top of your ruler. Why can't I get to the top of it? When you measure centimeters, you only have 2 options. Take a look up here just so you kind of get that. Okay, let's say my line goes from here. Well, let's just stop it there because that's what it's not. Okay. I guess I can't move that over. Maybe I can move this over. Let's say that's it. So it goes to right here. Let's say it goes to right here. That little point right there. You can either measure in centimeters or millimeters. The little guys, these are the millimeters. And a millimeter is about the width of your pencil lead, so it's kind of small. Okay, and the nice thing is there are always 10 millimeters for every centimeter. Okay? So the best thing to do is measure in millimeters first. if I was measuring this line in millimeters, I can go right to here and say this is 10. Well, this is 20. It's 1 short of 20. Well, how many millimeters would it be? 19 millimeters. And then, children, if you're measuring in centimeters, to change millimeters to centimeters, guess what? You just do this. So I'm going to rewrite it. You just put a decimal right here because it's 1.9 centimeters. It's almost 2, but it's 1.9 centimeters. For this one. This one is 30 millimeters, which is how many centimeters? 3. No dealing with fractions, which, by the way, everybody listen carefully to this. Never, repeat after me, never.
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 Ever.
Ever.
Will I
Will I
use
fractions
with
with
a metric system.
the metric system?
Because eventually some of you want to do this, and it happens every year to every class or whatever. They want to say that this is 1 9/10 of a centimeter, which it is, but you never, ever, ever use fractions with the metric system. It is always going to be decimal. Ever. Ever. All right. Enough of that. Your assignment